Governments across the world have a responsibility to ensure the security and welfare of their citizens in such ways that ensure that social justice is effected in every society, particularly to close gaps between the haves and the have-not. Like every other country, Nigeria has a good number of vulnerable population. While the vulnerability of some are natural, as in old age and disability, others are forced into situation by their earning capacity as well as underlying factors like insecurity. In their different social classes, they abound in Nigeria, and successive governments in the country have generated different interventions to meet them at the point of their needs. And work is continuous to ensure that more citizens fall within the social safety nets. Thanks for joining us for another edition of Dateline 360. I am Omotola Omojala. On this episode, we examine social welfare in Nigeria and the various ways it profits society. Social safety nets are part of a broader social protection plan comprising inclusive initiatives designed to cushion the effect of poverty among poor and vulnerable households. This is to reduce inequality and boost shared prosperity by helping poor households cope with shocks. Ruth Aguele begins the discourse with a look at the federal government's interventions through social safety net programs.
Globally, the burden of humanitarian crisis remains predominant, even as developing nations struggle for social inclusion for all. In the midst of rising conflicts, which puts a strain on humanitarian interventions. For a nation like Nigeria, threatened by natural disasters, leaving communities ravaged, livelihoods cut short, creating a chain of displacement and a burden of humanitarian crisis for the country. The 2022 Multidimensional Poverty Index survey reveals that 63%, that is an estimated 133 million people, are multidimensionally poor. Social safety nets are designed to bridge the gaps towards alleviating poverty, reducing inequality and providing support in cushioning the effect of economic crisis. They serve as buffer against shocks, help build human capital, and boost local economies through empowerment programs designed for poor and vulnerable households in societies. For Nigeria, the National Social Safety Nets Project, under the National Social Safety Net Coordinating Office, NASCO, was established in 2016 in partnership with the World Bank to strengthen social safety nets and social protection system in the country. The NASCO mandate is to coordinate and integrate the social safety net programs into social protection systems through the National Social Register, a comprehensive database comprising of poor and vulnerable households across the country, who have been identified across communities nationwide by empowering them to rise above poverty and build sustainable futures. Some of the flagship programs designed include the National Cash Transfer Office, responsible for implementing cash transfers to targeted vulnerable households, Youth Empowerment and Social Support Operations, YESO, supporting vulnerable youths with life skills trainings, grants, and reorientation, and the Community and Social Development Project, providing grants to boost the development agenda of vulnerable communities. In line with President Tinubu's renewed hope agenda of reducing poverty and empowering communities, targeted beneficiaries received transfers of 25,000 naira monthly to poor and vulnerable households who have been identified from the National Social Register. The federal government has taken proactive measures to bring succor to the vulnerable population through diverse intervention programs, while ensuring direct impact on the poor and vulnerable groups through various social intervention programs in the country.
Our focus is to see how we can reposition the ministry. And in doing that, we quite believe that, the major issue is to restore trust. Because whether we agree or not, the ministry, since inception, has suffered a lot of public trust issue most officially at both local and international level. In order to do that, we must ensure that we have a strong data recording with National Identity Management Commission in terms of getting average Nigerian that will be in our social register to have his national identity number. And also we must work closely with our banks to ensure that we have a collaborative effort through the World Bank to get so many of those who are in our national social register to have their bank number so that they can easily be identified.
We reaffirm our shared duty to transform policies into practical and life-changing solutions. If we are to create a real impact, we will rethink how we operate, not as isolated actors, but as collective force for a meaningful change.
As Nigeria continues to build bridges in reducing poverty across the country, the call is for a collective responsibility as the federal government continues to strengthen its collaboration for more effective delivery of social safety net programs nationwide by building synergy across all tiers of government to help Nigerians beat poverty. However, Nigerians are encouraged to keep hope alive with federal government's commitment towards lifting millions of Nigerians out of poverty. Ruth Aguele for Dateline 360.
Increasing the gap between the rich and the poor threatens social and economic lives of people. Apart from current and popular governmental efforts in Nigeria, Robinson Deratede in Port Harcourt seeks experts' views on more ways to bridge the gaps in social inequality through effective implementation of social welfare programs of government for the benefit of the masses.
Social welfare programs are quality economic tools to address economic and social inequalities in the society. In Nigeria, there are many social welfare programs well designed, but the problem has always been implementation.
To social scientists, social welfare programs are initiatives deployed by the capitalists to meet the needs of the people.
The essence of the social welfare program, at least to alleviate the suffering, the poverty of this exploited class, so that they will not need to engage in any revolutionary activity. And it's actually working in these countries.
These social welfare programs essentially are designed to empower people economically. And then when people have a means of livelihood, their spending power and even their status and their human development index will improve.
Nigeria, like many other countries, have designed different social welfare programs since independence. But whether such programs have met the expectations of the people is subject to individual perception.
To some extent, they work. You cannot say it's perfect, but to say it does not work at all may not be right, because for so many people, schooling would have been a challenge. But it's just because government paid bursaries those days when there was bursary, either at the local states or at local government, that gave them opportunity to access education, and through the education they got, they're able to access good jobs that helped to transform them from the poverty status in which they were born to maybe well-to-do or middle income, which they earn today. So those programs work, especially if well implemented.
In recent times, social welfare programs like unconditional cash transfer for indigent Nigerians, market women money, school feeding program, student loan scheme, and many other soft loans in the agriculture and small-scale business sectors have become prominent. Economic imbalance suffered by the youths, women, and even the elderly, they noted, can be addressed through appropriate social welfare initiatives, and this should be a shared responsibility between the three tiers of government and the private sector.
In society, everyone cannot be equal, but can reduce that gap between the have and the have-nots. even as our fingers are not equal. That's how it is, even from nature. But it will reduce inequality. It will reduce crime rate. For those who are not working, if government can come up with a good provision for them, I think it will reduce the number of people that will go into crime and criminalities.
For any programs to be efficient or to succeed, that you need to, first of all, study the environment. If you study the environment, then you can now tailor-make that program to achieve the desired objective. If the policy is just ruled out without a proper assessment, without understanding the environment, the chances are high that those programs may not achieve its desired objective, at least not to the full.
Sometimes it is not beneficial for those for which it has been established. Sometimes it's hijacked, manipulated by people. Eventually you will discover that those benefiting from it are not those that are supposed to benefit from it.
Even in high demand skill areas, what are you saying? We have a number of our youths who are self-employed and they are self-sustaining as well. So government should begin to look at these social empowerment programs that would empower youths and make them self-reliant, self-employed.
Beneficiaries of social welfare programs are also advised to judiciously use it. In Port Harcourt, Robinson Terateide for Dateline 360.
Now, talking about youth and how to make them self-sustaining, here is Olayinka Ojo on some of the interventions by the federal government to ensure that inclusive economic growth and sustainable development is achieved by equipping the youth with 21st century skills and knowledge to thrive in a rapidly evolving world.
Nigeria, the most populous country in Africa, is grappling with a significant challenge: youth unemployment. This demography makes up a large portion of the nation's workforce. Yet, many young Nigerians remain without gainful employment despite their energy, talent, and potential. Demonstrating a clear awareness of the importance of investing in youth-focused policies, the federal government of Nigeria has launched several empowerment initiatives. These interventions are designed to improve employability, reduce poverty, and promote self-sufficiency. One of such programs is the Digital Literacy for All and the 3 Million Technical Talent 3MTT initiative, designed to equip Nigerians with the global skills needed to thrive in today's connected world, which opens global and local opportunities for growth. To further support youth-driven sustainability development, the federal government, under the Presidential CNG Initiative, distributed 2,000 CNG-powered tricycles, creating jobs and promoting green transportation. In addition, the federal government student loan scheme have been supporting indigent Nigerian students in funding their higher education, a critical step towards inclusive education. Vocational training and skills acquisition are also priorities. With the rollout of TVET programs, young Nigerians are being equipped with industry-relevant skills. With these concerted efforts and strong collaboration between government and the private partners, Nigeria is gradually paving way for a youth-driven economy, and the dream of empowering a generation and expanding access to global and local opportunities is no longer distant. Olayinka Ojo.
When malaria knocks you down, you can be sure parasites are having a party in your system.
Welcome to our new kingdom, guys!
Comel, an effective weapon against malaria. Attacking the parasite army directly to give you express relief and get you back on your feet effectively. Comel on. Malaria gone.
Support for the elderly and persons living with disabilities require a comprehensive network of social safety nets that will provide essential support and protection to enhance their well-being, considering the similar challenges. Elizabeth Omori in this report looks at how these segments of the population are leveraging social safety nets to address systemic barriers and disparities they face.
A natural process in humans, aging comes with peculiar challenges that impinge social relations, healthcare, and financial stability of the elderly. It is a phase of life dreaded by many, particularly those without social security or social capital. Living becomes lonely. They not only become burden on society, but mostly to themselves due to issues with mobility, feeding, financial instability, inadequate and sometimes lack of support from family members, as well as societal stereotyping, along with abuse, making living hellish for the elderly. Somewhat similar is the situation for persons living with disabilities. In spite of being in their agile forms, these challenges interfere with their total well-being. In developed climes, these social demographics are targeted for interventions to make living worth it for many. In Nigeria, there has been deliberate attention to these population with the establishment of the Senior Citizen Center and National Commission for Persons with Disabilities. Studies, however, show that the design of some social protection programs are without recourse to the specific needs of the elderly and persons living with disabilities. The Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs oversees social safety nets for these groups, with the aim to provide essential support to mitigate poverty and inequality, eliminate vulnerabilities, and promote inclusion. Among the benefits within the safety nets are financial assistance, access to quality and affordable health care, among other support services to allow individuals live with greater dignity and participate fully in society. Pat Collins is a businessman. He says accessing the social safety net seems Herculean.
1/4 or 1/5 of citizens that knows that that thing is exists. Even myself, as you are talking to me now, I didn't expect it. Because there should be a means. When I was in England, people, old age people are given some stipends. They have some money to buy, even if it is to buy clothes, egg, and bread, chicken, just to fill your stomach, and also pay your house rent.
The process by which the current list was done is not very clear to us. And we are very happy that the minister, when he came here, he did call on us to come forward and submit more names for the cash transfers and other things. We want more of the older persons, captured.
Nike Akingbola lives with a disability. She speaks on access to social welfare and how the interventions work.
Even if a person with disability decides to start up a business, there's always that challenge of physical barriers. And of course, attitudinal barrier which comes from the society. They see more of the disability rather than what the person is ready to offer. They don't expect much. So more often than not, they come approaching persons with disabilities with a charity approach. But to be honest, government is playing its role aside from the funding aspect, which is a huge, huge challenge.
Key players in humanitarian affairs insist there's more to do to promote inclusivity of this social demographics.
In the conditional transfer, cash transfer, there's a specific step being taken to make sure that no one is left behind.
What the government can do is to remove the barriers. Whatever program that they are doing, it should be fully inclusive. When a hearing impaired person comes to kind of want to participate, how do they communicate? The staff themselves don't understand sign language. The person coming is a hearing impaired person and the only language they understand is sign language. That in itself is a barrier.
The National Senior Citizens Center, National Commission for Persons with Disability, and coalitions advocate improved funding of key agencies, subsidized health services, and full domestication of the National Senior Citizens Act. Accessibility to interventions will promote inclusion and dignity. Elizabeth Omori reporting for Dateline 360.
Borno State is the epicenter of Nigeria's humanitarian crisis, and it continues to grapple with the effect of over a decade-long insurgency that has displaced millions and strained the social-economic fabric of the region. Well, in response, the state government has implemented targeted social welfare programs aimed at supporting the displaced and marginalized population. Pauline Kujevana tells us more.
Social welfare programs in Borno State have become vital lifelines for the displaced and marginalized, offering hope amid ongoing challenges as government and its partners remain steadfast in their commitment to rebuilding communities and restoring human dignity.
Yana taimaka ma talakoki da kudi su yi kasuwanci su yi abubuwa.
This government is helping the poor, empowering us with business capital to make a living. We appreciate the government of Professor Zulum for carrying all along.
Askarnyana kumna baga na zulum de. Chai askarnyana kumayara askarnyana ka sola adin guran da ladana man wahalan jeru yende.
Dan mun zo nan anguwar 1982 da muna enjoy wannan ruwan watan generator a kunna watan barakuna ba tunda aka fixing wannan solar nan alhamdulillah. Ruwa is stable koyaushe kowane anguwa ruwa yana tafiya don this is not the first time da yake wannan abun a ko ina yana yi.
Darajan za alai hafsa askirin yana an da su mona ba an ganyaye lori kan bute askirin.
Da fari dai muna zama ba ma iya kasuwanci amma yanzu alhamdulillah Allah ya wa gwamnan mu albarka yana mana taimako iya gurgudu da sarakanmu.
In Borno State, numerous initiatives in restoring dignity, rebuilding lives and fostering inclusion for communities devastated by conflict and poverty have been launched, including psychosocial support for women and children, skills acquisition programs, cash transfer schemes, food relief distribution, and rehabilitation shelters for internally displaced persons and returnees refugees, including national programs such as the National Social Investment Program, NSIP, also supporting vulnerable groups.
Every day is a palliative day in Borno State, simply because His Excellency, the Executive Governor, Professor Babagana Umar Zulum, realized that no matter how much you build the capacity of an individual, no matter how big the empowerment equipment you give the beneficiary, at the end of the day, he must eat before he is able to implement the skills acquired and practice with the tools you have given him.
However, these efforts face several challenges, including lack of documentation, remote locations, cultural stigmatization, and in some cases, limited awareness alongside security concerns that restrict access to many rural communities.
Before you embark on any social service, you must do needs assessment. You must sit with the community. What are your challenges? So that you don't bring an intervention that may not be priority to them. So involving the community at the beginning, during, and after the intervention is very critical because it gives you the opportunity to do more and to also satisfy the yearnings and aspirations and, of course, the needs of the community.
Community-driven and cultural-sensitive initiative through inclusion of community leaders, female voices, and people with disabilities in programs planning and execution are being used to ensure broader representation, in addition to mobile outreach teams and digital platforms to extend services to remote areas.
Social work, etc. It's capital intensive. It's not an intervention that can be done alone by the government. Apart from the financial implication, there's the need for technical support. You need to build the capacity of those implementing the interventions and also ensure that the communities are ready to appreciate and benefit from what you are taking to them.
Meanwhile, Borno state governments collaborate with NGOs and international agencies like UNHCR and IOM to promote safe shelters, documentation, empowerment and integration programs, including communal farming schemes, vocational training, and communal dialogue to help promote peaceful coexistence.
For these efforts to succeed, more is needed beyond immediate aid. Creating a society where everyone has an equal chance to succeed, regardless of background or circumstance. In Maiduguri, Paul Nkujevana reporting for Dateline 360.
That's it on this edition of Dateline 360. Next week is another time. Make it a date as we x-ray another issue of national interest. I am Omotola Omojola. On behalf of the production crew, I thank you for your company. God bless Nigeria.